I would like to welcome Nabil Saab, Dr. Hamid, Mohammad Amin. There are so many other speakers are there. So it's very thankful. Let me give you a sense of this meeting because the aim of our institute is to groom our students in such a manner that they not only become a good professionals, but they become a good human being as well. That they can serve the our society in a professionally in a very good manner. So this workshop is also the one of the key components in this direction that we intend to groom our students that they can participate, they can play their role in a society. So I believe that until unless a person couldn't find himself, that what is he himself, he cannot progress to the in another direction toward the society. So the sense of and the topic of this workshop is the relation to the work-life balance. You are looking at the work and life. Life is a sense, the mean that the person who that belongs to a person himself. And the work, basically the area surrounded by the human being or his life. So how can be this relation can be developed and can be balanced? This type of inner relation and the surrounding relations. So in this regard, definitely the key components which we our theme we can say we will focus on these the different topics. Number one is that importance of faculty time, that family time, because family is the core essence of a person, that where its personality grooms and their whole mind set of minds or rest of minds or you can peace of mind belong to the family timing. Another is the connecting with the nature. Nature is also a sense where the human being can interact with and get the peace of mind from it. So how can we deal with the nature and optimizing the mental capability? Because whenever we are talking about the life, basically the human inner is basically belongs to it's a mental capability. How can be optimized? And finally, when the prioritizing what matters, how can you prioritize what things are prayer in what the importance of the different segments in your life? How can you prioritize this one? Um, so if we go in detail that work balance life, we thoroughly discussed, examine the critical factors and the principle related to the maintaining the healthy work-life balance. And for family life, family time, theme is that to explore the significance of spending quality time with one family. So we will delve into the strategies that nurturing and strengthening family relation. How can we nourish our family relationship in a good manner? Connecting with the nature. Nature is very surrounded. So many things are around our nature. The beauty of nature is immense to groom a person. So we emphasize that the connection between the nature and well-being of participants will learn how the nature can be source of relaxation, stress relief, and mental relax of the person. Then mental capability, definitely when we optimize our mental capability, we can get the direction of the life and the work. We can develop a good relation between the life and work. So insights and techniques for optimizing the mental capability will go through. We should have go through these capabilities, the strategies for managing the stress, uh, improving the and focusing, enhancing the overall mental well-being. Then number is prioritizing the what matters most important for our to prioritize the thing. So final one, the life-changing concepts can how what the concept that you develop inside your inside that change your life, something like that. So Emery, so you can say that in summary, this workshop comprehensive exploration of work-life balance, covering range of topics from the family time, mental well-being, goal of helping early careers, professional set of a stage for a successful and balanced life. So thank you very much. These are the directions in which we move, and hope that all participants will get benefited from these all key components. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Ladies and gentlemen, our seminar on workshop on work-life balance in professional career is about to embark a journey of insight and inspiration. Our distinguished speaker, Mohammad Nabil Musharraf, is only an expert in this field, but also guiding light to helping the individual navigate the delicate balance between their professional ambition and personal well-being. Mohammad Nabil Musharraf, he holds Bachelor of Engineering and MBA Management Information System. He is working as a senior leader of Islamic Circle of Australia and New Zealand, founder of Australian Islamic Library, serving in the mining and chemical industries in Australia from the last 11 years. Experience of the work in the multiple countries, including Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. Author of over 40 books, delivering the lectures around Australia. He is a Khatib at University of Western Australia, Perth. He has 100, more than 100 certifications related to the Islamic studies and other disciplines. So without any further delay, it is my privilege to introduce our main speaker, Mohammad Abul Musharraf, who will share his valuable insights on work-life balance in professional career. Please join me in extending a warm virtual welcome to Mohammad Nabil Musharraf. Sir Nabil, are you there? Yes.
So it's the screen is shared by brother Mujawar Abbas. Can you kindly unshare your screen so that I can share it? Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, Nabil bhai, yes.
Okay, sure. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين. I welcome you all to this workshop and I thank you for giving time to this very important topic. The topic for today's talk is work-life balance. So inshallah, we will see some very important aspects related to that. And though I did not share my presentation with the team, but I was very happily surprised that some of what I was going to say today is already mentioned by Dr. Dur in his introductory comments. So I'm very pleased to hear about that. So in this presentation, we will discuss about how to become a meaningful and value-adding member of the community, in addition to being a good professional. And also in this, we will discuss about the different types of relationships we have with ourselves, with our creator, with nature, and so on. So these topics, inshallah, are something that we'll be discussing in this presentation. So the first question is that what's meant by work and life balance? When we say that we have to maintain a balance between two things, it necessarily means that these two things are separate. And that's the first thing that we have to keep in our mind. In many cases, it happens that our life gets consumed completely by work. All we think of is work. Even if we are at home, we are thinking about work. So our life is completely consumed by that. So if we are in that sort of a situation, it means that we are not maintaining the balance. The work is consuming and eating up everything. It's eating up our life. So what we are going to discuss today is that how can we maintain a balance between the two? So the first thing, they are two very different things. Work should not become our life. Our life has many other important things that we have to take care of in it. So this is the first lesson that we have to very diligently understand. All right, so these are the three main themes that we'll be covering in this presentation today. Firstly, we'll be discussing about the impact of imbalance between work and life. So if there's an imbalance, what would happen? And then we will discuss about three important ingredients for achieving success in work-life balance. How can we effectively maintain the work-life balance? Three essential aspects that we need to consider in that regard. And at the end, we will discuss about some new norms. These are the things that we commonly ignore, and they are detrimental to work-life balance. So at the end, we will see some of those things. So let's start with the first aspect. What happens if there is no balance between work and life? Now, this is a very important question. Is career and meaningful life the same thing? It's not. Career, having success in career is very different to having a meaningful life. They can coincide in some situations, but we have to keep in mind that if one is successful in the career, it does not mean that one is successful in his or her life as well. That's the thing that we have to understand. Many of the people who are new to the industry, they just start job, they forget these things sometimes. And if this foundation is not right, we see the impacts of that throughout our life. So very important to understand that career success and meaningful life are two very different things. Now, what is meant by meaningful life? Meaningful life is determined by the quality of our relationship. Suppose you are a great engineer, suppose you are a great doctor, suppose you are a great chartered accountant, but your relationships are ruined. You cannot consider yourself to have achieved what is there to be achieved in this life. So you are missing out on things. So the real value of life, the real meaning of life is in our relationships. So this is something that we need to consider. And it is very unfortunate that in the present era, some of those roles have got reversed. Sometimes we are a good engineer first, and we are a good husband later on. Sometimes we become great mathematicians, but very bad fathers. Sometimes we became great archaeologists, but very bad parents. So these are the things that we need to consider and understand in order to receive a meaningful life. So these roles are very, very important, and we cannot compromise them for work. If your work means that you would always see your children sleeping, I had a friend, and he said to me that when he goes for work, his children are sleeping. And when he comes back from work, it's so late that the children have gone to sleep again. So he only sees his children like literally, like he cannot see them vertically. That's the state, like when the career consumes our life. So he was an engineer first, but his kids did not know him as a good father. He did not spend enough time with them. So these are the sort of things that we need to consider when we are talking about work life balance. We have got certain relationships, and we have to prioritize them. We have to find some quality time for them. In that regard, I would like to explain a very important concept, and that is the roles we have. All of us have got certain mandatory roles and certain elective roles. There are some roles that we cannot change. All of you are someone's son or daughter. This is the role that you cannot change. Similarly, some of you might be husbands, some of you might be wives of people, some of you might be parents of people, brothers, sisters, and so on. So these are the roles which you cannot change. And there are some roles which are optional, which we can change. For example, I work in a mining company in certain role. This is something that I have adopted by choice. I can change that. So there are certain roles. For example, someone might be a player of a team or something. So this is the role that they have chosen for themselves. So these are the elective roles. Now, for the elective role, you can see if it does not fit with the broader purpose of life, if it is resulting in your relationship, the mandatory relationships being suffering, then you can obviously choose to change that. Now, with regards to the mandatory roles, what is the criteria of success? How can you say that you are a good son? And this is very important to understand. Based on that definition, you would assess yourself if you are meeting the objectives or not. Is your work consuming you so much that you are unable to become a good son? Are you so engrossed in your work that you're not a good husband or you're not a good wife? So these are the things that we can only understand if we understand the criteria of success. And our religion defines the criteria of success like that. So there is a thing called minimum performance level. That's the passing marks. Like, I believe some of you might be students in university, or some of you would be teachers in university. So there is a passing mark. Above that, a person is considered to have passed the subject. So that passing mark is MPL, the minimum performance level. If your performance goes below that, it means you are not successful. So from where would we get that definition? And when we meet that definition, if we are exactly fulfilling the requirements of that definition, we are considered to be doing the adl, the justice to the role. For example, justice to the role of being a father, justice to the role of being a son, justice to the role of being a husband or a wife, and other roles. So that's justice. Now, from where does the MPL come? How would you know what the success criteria is? So Quran and Sunnah gives us the criteria. For example, if you are a father, what is expected from you? If you are a mother, what is expected from you? So Quran and Sunnah explain that to us. It means to understand our role, we have to establish a connection with the Quran and Sunnah. Without that, we cannot be successful in life. Without that, we cannot achieve the work-life balance, because work-life balance determines the types of relationship we have. And if we don't know the success criteria in those relationships, we cannot maintain the work-life balance. So this is extremely important. This is the second important point that I want to emphasize today, that we have to establish a connection with the Quran and Sunnah in order to understand what is the minimum passing marks for me in my relationships. Now, we know from the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Inna Allah yuhibbul muhsinin, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who do ihsan. And what's the definition of ihsan? As you can see from this graph, most of you are engineers, I believe, studying or teaching in engineering university. You can see anything above this line is ihsan. So if you get more marks than the passing marks, you're doing ihsan. You're doing something, you're moving towards excellence. So ihsan is the pursuit of excellence. And if you go below these passing marks, you are considered to be doing the zulm. You are going to do oppression against yourself or against others, against your family, against those who love you and those who deserve your love. You are doing oppression to them if you are not meeting the MPL of your relationship with them. So this is something that we need to keep in consideration when we are talking about the work-life balance. Now, another important thing that we have to keep in mind is that many of us have got career aspirations, and what we want to achieve from our careers is a lot of money. A lot of money can buy you a house. A lot of money can buy you a house. It cannot give you a home. If you want to have a good home, then you have to have good relationships. And we will shortly discuss about what those relationships are. Money is not equal to happiness. Now, we know about many people. I'll tell you a story of one of the local scholars that we have over here. So that scholar, before becoming a religious alim or a scholar, he was a singer. And he was trying his best to get a duet, a song that he could do with a very famous singer. And finally, the deal got struck, and they both agreed that they would sing together a song. And that person was extremely happy that now I've got the opportunity and I'll become famous as well, and so on. And then in a few days, he heard that that person, very rich singer, he committed the suicide. Why do you think it happened? Because money is not equal to happiness. Money is not happiness. Happiness lies in the relationships. So we have to have strong relationships if you want to have a home, if you want to enjoy our life, if you want to experience happiness in life. Money cannot buy that. It is the relationships that can buy you happiness, that can bring you happiness in life. So that's the very important thing that we have to keep in mind. Now, another question that we have to ask ourselves is that what is our career goal? Those who are going to just passing out from the university or those who are already working, we should all ask, what do we want to achieve from our careers? And that would determine the perspective from which we will look at our careers. So the fundamental question is that what is your career goal? Some of you might say that I want to become manager. Some of you might say that I want to become I want to attain some senior position in the university and so on. Some of us think like that. But again, question your thinking. You know the onion, when we remove one layer of it, when we peel one layer of the onion, then there is another layer. Can I please request everyone to keep your mics on mute, please? So with the onion, if we peel one layer, then another layer comes from underneath, and so on. So this is something that we have to question ourselves. This is the approach we should adopt in questioning ourselves. Our objective is to attain some high position in the university. We should ask why. Why is that? Is that just the prestige for no reason that we want to obtain, or is there any reason for that? Is it just money? Is money worthy enough of a cause or worthy enough of a reason to spend our life? And as we discussed, money is not equal to happiness. Where do the values fit in? How do we care for the values? How do we care for the belief that we have? How do we care? How much do we care for our statement that we give, that iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in? And when we say that on the day of judgment, we will be presenting ourselves with our deeds, how much do we value that? Does that fit into the equation as well when we talk about the career goals? These are the things that we have to question ourselves when answering this question. Now, another thing is that how much earning is good enough? Now, this is a very fundamental question. We all want to become rich, but why? What is the purpose behind that? Let me tell you a very interesting and surprising figure. Many people accumulate savings and so on throughout their life, thinking that when they would get old, that saving would help them. And guess what? How much of that saving do they use in their life? Less than 20%. You save something throughout your life and you are unable to use it. And you are unable to use it. That's what the state of us. May I please request everyone to please keep your mics on mute? It's disturbing everyone. Thank you. So this is something that we have to really question. My initial plan was to share with you a book summary for this book that you see on your screen, The 4-Hour Work Week. But then I chose that there are other important things also that I want to cover in this session. So I did not plan this session solely around this book, but there are some bits and pieces that I'll share from this book. For example, one of the quotations that I really like about this book, it is that whenever you find yourself on the side of majority, it is time to pause and reflect. And you know what does that mean? It means following the crowd. If everyone is moving in one direction, without thinking, you just start to follow them because everyone is moving in that direction. You think that direction might be right. That might be the very wrong direction and you are just following the crowd. So question that. If everyone is after certain careers, if everyone is after money in their careers, if everyone is after positions in their careers, question that. Why do you need that? What's the value of that in your life? What difference would you get? There are many people who achieve big positions, but they do so by losing their happiness in life, by losing their relationships in life. So no one is saying that don't look for career progression. What I'm saying is that it should not be at the cost of relationship. It should not be at the cost of the things that really matter. And why do we think about money only? Why has money become such a big thing for us? And the reason for that is this civilization that we are living in. In this, after 15th century, a gradual shift has happened. And in that shift towards atheism and so on, what has happened is that God has been replaced by universe. So we think, rather than think about God, we just think about this universe. Soul is ignored. And all we care about is the body. Like which type of car should my physical body moving? So we are very conscious about that. We compare our vehicles with other people's vehicles. We are worried about what type of houses should our physical body be living in. And then we compare it with the others, that my physical body is living in this house, another person's physical body is living in a bigger house. What we don't really see is the importance of soul. It is the soul which matters, not the physical body. Similarly, we have forgotten the afterlife, and all we are concerned with is this life. And that is what is damaging our work life balance. That's the crux of it. If we know the importance of God in our life, we will find time for it. Many a times we ignore God, we ignore religion because we are so busy at work. We ignore our soul. We don't have any time to nurture ourselves because we are too busy with the physical body. We are too busy with in arranging the comfort for this physical body, which is gonna become dust one day. We are so concerned about it and not worrying about something that would stay with us, the good deeds that we do in this world. We're not concerned about that. That's the crux of the matter, which damages the work-life balance. We are so engrossly in love with money that we compromise on other things. Alhaakumut takasur, that the desire for abundance has made you oblivious to the things that you should not be oblivious to. So this is unfortunately the reality, and we have to question that. We should not follow the crowd if it's moving in the wrong direction. You have to organize the work life balance for yourself so that you can give time to the things that really matter. You can give time to the relationships that matter. Also, we have to consider the definition of slavery when we are talking about the work life balance. In many companies, people's time is restricted by their company. They can't do anything of their own. When I used to work in Pakistan, I know how hard it used to be to get holidays. Over here, we are fortunate that the companies really encourage people to take holidays and go overseas or wherever they want to go. But in Pakistan, when I was working, it was very difficult. So this a form of slavery? Slavery? What used to happen with the slaves? Did the slaves used to decide what they were working on that day? It was decided by their masters. They used to decide that what they would be working on, irrespective of whether they are interested in doing that or they are not interested in doing that. That's the definition of slavery. Do the slaves determine what time they would be working and what time they wouldn't be working? It's defined by their masters. So that's the definition of slavery. So the modern day slavery is unfortunately sometime in some of the common companies that we see around us. So we have to question that. So we have to ensure that we come out of that cycle and we have some freedom for us. So look for the companies where this freedom is available if you have to work in those companies. And then there are other options as well, which I'll shortly explain. Another very important aspect, and that's again from that book, The 4 Hour Work Week. Job descriptions are not self descriptions. Job descriptions are not self descriptions. Sometimes we are so obsessed with job descriptions and job titles that my title is this and my title is that. And we remain sad in those titles because happiness in life, but we are so proud of them. We lose the meaning of life and we lose the happiness, but we are happy with the titles. That's not a meaningful life. If you are a CEO of a company and you remain sad all the time, it's really not worth it. If you are a chief executive of a company and your relationships are breaking, it's not really worth it. So this is the thing we have to keep in mind. Just having big titles and big job descriptions and not enjoying the life, not having quality time in your life is not good enough. You have to do something about it. So that's where the work-life balance comes in. With this context, and we have mentioned so many times that we have to maintain relationships, we have to prioritize the relationship. What are those relationships that we are talking about? So let's explore those definitions of those relationships. So here we are talking about 5 relationships, and some of them we very pleasantly heard in the introduction to this workshop as well. So let's see what those relationships are. So there are 5 relationships. First relationship is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most important relationships. If all other relationships fall and this relationship is intact, it would save us. But if this relationship is not there and everything else is there, we would be unsuccessful on the day which really matters, the day of the judgment. So the first relationship is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then the relationship with yourself, and I'll shortly explain what does that mean. then the relationship with your loved ones, then the relationship with others, and finally the relationship with nature. So these are the 5 relationships that determine meaningful life. If you remember, we discussed in the beginning of this workshop that there is a difference between a career success, and a meaningful life. So these are the 5 things that determine the meaningful life, if your life is meaningful or not. Now take a pause, take a minute, and question yourself. How strong is your relationship with these 5 aspects or 5 things? How is your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you really know yourself? And if your answer is coming as no, then it means that you have to do something. You cannot just leave it like that. You would miss the meaning in life if you are not maintaining these 5 relationships. So let's see what they are. So the first relationship is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Feel his presence with you. Whatever you are doing, feel his presence. And as one of the great poets of Indo-Pak, Allama Muhammad used to say, that हम तो जीते थे फकत कि दुनिया में तेरा नाम रहे. So in this one statement he gave the purpose of our existence. हम तो जीते थे फकत, the only purpose of our living was कि दुनिया में तेरा नाम रहे, so that people continue to take your name in this world. मेरी जिंदगी का मकसद तेरे दी की सरफराजी, मैं इसीलिए मुसलमान, मैं इसीलिए नमाजी. So that should be our purpose of life, to establish a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we don't have that relationship, nothing else matters. No, even if we have got treasures of the world, it's nothing if we don't have that treasure of relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's a feeling that I cannot explain in words. The type of sweetness that one can feel when one has got a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a relationship that even if you're going through the biggest trials in your life, you would still be calm if you have got a relationship with him. If the stones are thrown at the most blessed person to ever walk on the face of the globe in Taif, and if the person has got the relationship, what would the person say? Oh Allah, if you are happy with what is happening to me, and if it is not because you are upset or angry with me, I'm fine with it. I'm okay with these things happening to me. So this is what happens when we have got relationship with Allah. The biggest of the problems become easy for us. We don't see them as a problem. Everything becomes easy for us to handle if we have got this relationship going. Otherwise, every little thing would give us a big stress. It would become a great stress for us. So that's how important this relationship is. The second one is the relationship with yourself. Now let's discuss what is the meaning of relationship with yourself. The meaning of relationship with yourself is that you should be able to spend time when you are alone. You shouldn't feel bored or feel like dopamine overdose or something, that you want to do something, because there's a chemical in our brain that wants us to do things and remain engaged in this thing and that thing, one after the other. And that's released when we are too engrossed in those devices and so on and so forth. They all release dopamine in our brain. So we have to take a break from that. Spend time with yourself and question yourself. That is the time. In our religious tradition, it's known as muraqabah, in which you question yourself, which direction you are going. And that's a healing process. You question yourself and then you improve. So that's the process of self-improvement. But unfortunately, what I see with many people is that they are so much engrossed in the day-to-day things, what we call the thick of thin, that they are unable to step back and think about which direction their life is going. And they are missing on the healing power of relationship with self. People who are angry, they can spend time with themselves, question, why do I get angry? What can I do to control that? And come up with a plan for self-improvement. That is what happens when you spend time with yourself. You can heal yourself. The next relationship that I want to talk about is relationships with those who are your own. Unfortunately, in the current corporate world, what has happened is that husband and wife have got reduced to mere roommates. They share the room, but life partners. They do not share the same objective and same goal in life. They are just sharing the room. In many families, the discussions that they have are mere transactional relationships. Where are my clothes? Clothes are there. Have you taken the food? No, I haven't taken the food. Food is on the table. So just a conversational relationship. There is nothing deep in our conversations. We cannot discuss topics. We cannot talk about things together. So that is what these jobs are doing to us, unfortunately. And in order to strike a work-life balance, we would have to work on this relationship. We have to work with our children. We have to spend quality time with them. And that can make our life meaningful. If we are so engrossed in work that we don't even have time for our children, when we come home, we are so tired that every little noise they make makes us angry, then we are not having a meaningful life. The quality time of our day, the prime time that we have, we give to the work. And whatever is the leftover, we bring for the family. One of our teachers used to give a very beautiful example. And that was a very moving and shaking example for myself. So our teacher used to say that suppose some guests come to your house, and you prepare tea for them. And from that kettle, you put the tea in their cups and so on and serve them the cups. Now at the very end, there is only the last remains in there, which has got a lot of like the parts of the particles of the tea and so on, and which is not really drinkable. All the good tea you have served to them, and that last bit you take to your parents, the loved ones, that please drink this one. Would you do that? Would that be considered respectful? This is exactly what you are doing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your loved ones. The prime time of your day you are giving to your work. When you are tired, when nothing remains in you, when your social battery is low, when your energy is low, you come down to your family and you spend those time with them, always being angry with them on every little noise. That's what we are doing to our families, just giving them that last bit of tea which is really not drinkable. And what are we doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do we even give that bit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who gave us everything? Are we giving even that? Are we paying the zakat of our time, the time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us? Are we giving at least 2.5% of that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What about our skills that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given? How much of that is spent for the cause of the deen? It is very unfortunate. For most people, it's absolutely nothing. So where does the balance go? Where does the balance go? There is absolutely no balance because it's all work. We are spending, most of the people are not spending anything for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not spending anything for Allah. And suppose we go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this situation, and he asks us that what did you do in this world? What would we present over there? We all know that our lives are being recorded, and most of you are working in universities and so on. So you guys use Chat GPT and so on. Suppose you like GPT, and the Chat GPT then you ask after feeding your life story that he had lunch, he then did this and this and this and this, and you ask Chat GPT that what would be the title of this thing that I just entered. What do you reckon the title would come out? Would the title be that he was Mustafavi, that he dedicated his life for the Prophet ﷺ? Would the title be that हम तो जीते थे फकत के दुनिया में तेरा नाम रहे? Would that be the title? Or would the title be that the person lived for the sake of entertainment? The person lived for the sake of fame. The person lived for the sake of having his name higher than the others. The person lived for the sake of money. Are these the titles that we're going to have? If not, then we have to work on the things that really matter. We have to balance between work and life. Relationship with nature, as we heard in the introduction, nature has got a great healing power. Let me tell you a first story. Nowadays, many children, what do is that they go to school, then from the school they go to academies and so on. From there they get into their cars, and there are big buildings on their surroundings, and then they get to their homes. So many of them don't even look into the sky. They don't even look into the sky. So one of our teachers, Janab Salman Asif Siddiqui, He asked the children once that how many stars are there in the sky? And the children gave many funny answers. One of them said there are five. Some of them said, no, I counted there. There's another one. There are six. So they didn't even have time to look into the nature, look into the sky. So this is our state, this type of lifestyle that we are giving to ourselves and our children. So we have to question that. Before it gets too late, we have to question these things. We have to ask ourselves what direction we have chosen for ourselves. We have to question that. Otherwise, it will be too late for us. Relationship with others. So in that regard, I would just explain 2 points. One of the things is importance of the mentors. So if you have got good mentors, they'll be able to guide you about your life situations. They'll be able to guide you about how to handle different things in life. They'll be able to guide you about which direction you should go towards. And also the importance of good company. If you've got bad people, if you're surrounded in bad people, what they would do is that they'll only give you negativity, that this thing can't happen, oh no, you can't succeed in life, and this and that. So they can only give you that. But if you are surrounded with good people, they will be able to motivate you. When you fall, they will be able to lift you up. So surround yourself in the good company. And that's the best thing you can do to yourself. All right, so this was the initial introductory session about the impact of imbalance between work and life. And you would be thinking that if it was just the section one, how long would be the other two sections? The good news is that they are not too long. You don't have to worry about that too much. The first section was bigger. The next sections we might be able to finish a little bit quickly. All right, now let's start with the second section, which is about 3 essential ingredients for success. Let's see what those ingredients are. So the essential ingredients for having a success in the work-life balance are 3. The first one is belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second one is believe in yourself. If you don't have confidence about yourself that you can do something, you won't be able to do that probably. And the third one is that career vision that enables meaningful life. So in this section, we will shortly discuss about having a vision for your career. It's not just about money. It's bigger than money. There is more to it than money. So with regards to the belief in Allah, the first ingredients, you have to trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we overthink about things. Sometimes the situation is not that bad, but we consider it bad because we are overthinking about it. And what we take out of the equation is the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes we are too worried about what would happen in future, what would happen to my job, this and that. Sometimes we forget that there is someone who cares for us. So we have to establish that connection and have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is basically a great tool that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to overcome stress and worry. If everyone, just imagine, if everyone is consumed about what is to happen, then what sort of a society we would have? Everyone would be worried. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the gift of trust in Him so that we can relax, we can have calm and comfortable moments in life, and we can eliminate the worry from our life. And as our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La tahzan, inna Allah ma'ana." Do not be grieved, do not be sad, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with us. So this is what we should think, that if He is with us, nothing else matters. As one of the great poets, Maulana Muhammad Ali Johar, he used to say, and I'll recite in Urdu and then translate it in English. क्या गम है जो हो सारी खुदाई भी मुखालिफ, काफी है अगर एक खुदा मेरे लिए. तौहीद तो ये है कि खुदा हशर में कह दे, दो जग से ये बंदा खफा मेरे लिए है. That the real oneness of Allah, the real tawheed is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself proclaims on the day of judgment that this person, he fought with the whole world. He did not care if the whole world is against him for my sake. So that was my love. I was the number one for him. So we should have that sort of a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second important aspect with belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is understanding why things happen. And I can share my story. I have no shame in sharing that. When I used to work in Pakistan, I was a head of a department, and there were 250 people that used to work under me. And then the area where I was working, the security situation in that area did not remain stable. So I had to move. And then I went to Saudi Arabia and I started a teaching job. So I taught in a university for some time. And then I went to Australia. And when I went to Australia, initially I did not straight away get a job. So I used to put reflective numbers on in front of houses of the people. And sometimes people used to be very disrespectful. I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen something good for me. I had trust in him. So I bore through that. You would all have seen the containers in which import and export happens. So I used to empty those containers as well. But I had trust that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing something good for me. These troubles, these pain that I'm facing is temporary. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave me a good job. And then things started to again get to where I used to be before coming here. And Alhamdulillah, now I'm working on a very good job in a very good company. Things improve. But that is not the main thing. That is not the main success. Having a good job is not the main success. What I see is that now I'm part of Islamic Circle of Australia and New Zealand. And I used to be the president, the central president of this organization, which operates across Australia for 2 terms. So this is one of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because of this organization, I received tremendous amount of improvement. The tasks that an organization gave me, because of that, I learned so much. And that's the real blessing for me. That's my effort towards that banner that I want to create for myself, that I want to show to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. When I see him on the halls, that हम तो जीते थे दुनिया में कि फकत तेरा नाम रहे. O Prophet of Allah, I spend my life in your love. And this is something, that is the only thing that I have brought for you. As one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ asked him once that, O Prophet of Allah, when would the day of judgment come? The Prophet ﷺ replied, the approximate meaning of which is that, what have you prepared for that? The person said, I do not have much provisions, but what I have with me is the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his messenger. And the Prophet ﷺ said that you would be with the one that you love. And the companions rejoiced that they would have the company of the Prophet ﷺ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala getting that label I want to show to the Prophet ﷺ. Tendency to work on the path and make sure, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable me to get there with that label in my hand, that I spend my life, sacrifice my life for the sake of my beloved Prophet. That's the relationship that we have to maintain. And for that, we have to free up our time. We shouldn't be consumed in career that much that we forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing is having trust in yourself. Every one of us is blessed with certain talents. The grades that we get in the university are not reflective of our talents. And I can share with you many stories. I've got many friends. And let me tell you a funny story. When we used to study in engineering degree, we had a subject of control systems. Most of the subject as well, the control systems. We had one friend who failed it multiple times. He failed that subject multiple times, then reappeared, then failed, reappeared, then failed. And guess what he's doing nowadays? He is the CEO, chief executive officer of a company that deals with control systems. The marks you get in the university do not determine your talent. All of you have got tremendous talent. So have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can do great things in life. What you study at the university, in most cases, only 10% of that would be applicable to your practical job. So most of it is what you learn on the job. So have that confidence that you can do great things in life. Your numbers, your grades do not matter. Let me tell you another example. When we graduated from NUST, so we had one of our friends whose GPA was 2.000, 2.0, barely passed. So 2 GPA was the passing mark. So he barely passed. Even before he graduated, he was picked by the top software company in US before he graduated. Because the talent not determined by numbers. Have trust in yourself. You can do great things in life. All right. Now, third is about two I told you that determine the success of life. Now, let's see this third one is understanding the difference between and purpose of creation. Sometimes it can happen that your aim of life is very Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not create you to spend your entire life running after the money or after the fame or after the positions. That was not what is your purpose of creation. Created for something far bigger than that. If we spend our life in this incorrect struggle, what would happen is explained in this ayah that I have written in front of you. Amilat Nasiba. That there would be some people who would come on that day, they would have done a lot of action, but they would come on the day of judgment very tired, tired from what they used to do, and they wouldn't be successful in the hereafter. So the time we have got time up our sleeves at the moment. The death has not touched any of us at the moment. It can come anytime. So the time to ponder and reflect is now, that what is our aim of life and does it align with the purpose of creation or not? And if it is not, then what can we do? If we really believe that there's a creator, if we really believe that there would be a day when we will be answerable for what we do, the time is now. You have to think now which direction you are moving towards. Okay, now with regards to the career vision, another very important and the fundamental aspect that you need to keep in consideration is if you are not interested in something, you will enjoy that. And let me ask you a quick question. How much, what do you think is the percentage of people who are unhappy with their jobs and they are looking for their jobs? 33%. 33% of the workforce, every third person in your company is looking for a job. Every third professor at university is looking for a different job. Every third person in any company, according to a research, is looking for a job. Why do they do that? Because they're not happy with what they're doing. Because what they're doing does not match their interest. So therefore, it's very important that you try to identify what your interest is and pursue that. And again, let me going to get admission in the engineering degree. So as it happens in the Pakistan, the choice did not matter. What mattered was how many numbers one got in the FSC. And I got admission in electrical in Pakistan Navy Engineering College, but I didn't choose to go there because it was too far. I went to College of EME in Rawalpindi instead. So I got admission into mechatronics engineering. And while I was doing that, I realized that when it comes to the computer systems, when it comes to programming, when it comes to digital logic, I used to do it like that. And I used to even correct the mistakes of my teachers in that regard. Everything used to work in my brain. I was easily able to solve things. On the other hand, there were some subjects that I really disliked. I apologize if thermodynamics is one of the beloved subjects to any of you. I used to hate that. And some of the other subjects. I really thought that that's not my thing. But the thing is that it was too late. I discovered my natural talent only after I had started journey towards a thing that I was not interested in. But then things change later on and so on. That's another story. But it's very important to identify your interest. Still, nothing much has happened. If you're about to graduate from the university, you can still consider what is the thing that you're most interested in, and then try to find job in that company, and then you will love it. So very important to find your interest and then pursue that. All right. So a part of this, what is mentioned on this slide, I've already explained. When this question is asked to people that what made you choose certain career, their answers are like that because my parents said so, and every household is guilty of that. That son of ours will become a doctor. We tell them as soon as the child is 3 or 4 years, or sometime maybe earlier than that. So this is not the right thing. Let them follow their interest. They feel pressurized because we tell them that this is what you have to do, and they don't have any choice of their own. If they don't love doing something, they would be imprisoned in that career for their life. So let them do what they love. Second thing is, it's the trend in the market. Why are you doing something? It's a trend in the market. In other words, we are just following the crowd. The crowd is moving in one direction. We don't know whether the direction is right or not, but because the crowd is going there, we'll go there. That's the logical fallacy. Some people say that my merit came according to that degree or that branch of engineering and so on. As in my case, as I explained. So these things happen. It was my wish, and wish is not the same as your talent or your natural interest. Sometimes we wish for something, but it's not really our talent. That's really not our interest. So we have to keep that difference in mind. Sometimes we think because that career gives us a lot of money. What we need to keep in mind is that if you are truly interested in something, then that career has a lot of potential for you. You will grow in that, you will earn money in that. But if you think because the other people are making money in some career, you would make money as well, you might make money, you wouldn't get happiness. So the real meaningful life, the life after which you on the deathbed you say that I did something good in this life, I enjoyed my life, that is not when you're imprisoned in an incorrect career, the career that is not for you. Also, if you are in the process of selecting your career or in the process of even changing your career, change of career is the new norm. Everyone does that. Many of our friends who did engineering, they changed their careers. Many of them went to MBA, and then they're now in the marketing field and so on. Some of them went to accounting. One of my very good friends in Sydney, he became a lawyer. He was our junior in the university, did computer systems engineering, and now he's a very famous lawyer, the doctor of law in Sydney. So people change career, and it's a worthwhile exercise to do if you are trying to pursue something that is of interest to you. So these are the fourth aspects that you have to keep in mind. The first aspect, what you are doing, is it Islamically correct? If you believe in the faith, you have to question yourself, is it Islamically correct what I'm doing? Am I supposed to do that? The second thing is that, is it of interest to you, or you are just forced by those four or five things that I showed you earlier? The second thing is it financially viable? We are not saying that take finance out of the equation. It is important to have financial viability in your life. That is not the priority. And the fourth one, will it benefit the community? If what you are doing is able to benefit the community as well, it is nur ala nur. It's light upon light. So if you can find that career, that'd be wonderful. For example, if you got any brothers and sisters who are doing the computer systems engineering, let me give you an advice or a suggestion. There is a lot of need of work in that space. There are people who are producing filthy content that is polluting the minds of our next generation. So you can do a great job. You can create apps, you can create websites, you can create media and other things that can work for the community as well. So look for a career where the benefit of the community is also considered into the equation. And I don't have to explain a lot about it, but I've got a recommendation. If you are interested in learning further about that, those of you who can understand Urdu, you can go to YouTube and search one of the lecture series by Dr. Isar Ahmed, Rahmatullah alayh. And that is Islamic Renaissance, The Real Task Ahead. That's a book available in English language as well. The series in Urdu is Islam ki Nashat-e-Saniya, Karne ka Asar. That he explains about this very aspect, how to choose careers. He talks about careers in that. So if you have time, go and watch that. It's a 9 hours lecture, but a very, very beneficial one. All right, this takes us to our last section, which is about the new norms. And I'll share with you some things that are generally not done in career, but they are very important from the work-life perspective, balance perspective. Number one, do not wait till retirement to enjoy your life. And that's again from that book, The 4 Hour Work Week. In that, the author says that many of us spend day and night, the work day and night to save money, and we think that when we will grow old, we will then enjoy our life. But guess what happens when you retire? Your backs are already bent. You can't even stand straight. You can't even walk comfortably. So many of the things that you thought you would enjoy, you are unable to enjoy at that age. So what the author of that book says is that you should give yourself mini breaks. Do not consume yourself in your careers entirely. Have time to entertain yourself, have time to go out. And most importantly, for us as Muslims, it's not about what just the author has mentioned in the book and so on. It's more than that. For us, it's the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before your back is bent. Five before five, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us. The good health before you become sick. The availability of time before you get too busy. And other aspects. So five before five. So if you find time for yourself and serve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it gets too old. When you can do things with energy, set that time for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second one is challenge what does not add value at work. So if you are working in a company, if you're going somewhere, then challenge which parts of the task are value adding and which are not. I can share with you an example of what happens at many companies. Meeting after meeting after meeting. Same things get discussed in multiple meetings. So you can come up with strategies to avoid that. Maybe using email, writing proper directions and guidelines in your emails and so on regarding how should people contact you, what sort of information you need in the emails and so on. So you can look for productive ways of doing things, better ways of doing things. And if you want to know more about that, you can read that book, 4 Hour Work Week. But I would recommend reading it with an Islamic lens. So have that correct lens and glasses when you read it. Otherwise, the book is mainly based on materialism. Why? Because I told you that three things have got replaced with three things. God has been replaced by universe. The soul, the discussion about soul is replaced by the physical body. And that you would see a lot in this book. Discussion about physical body and its comforts and so on. And the hereafter is replaced by this life. And that those three are the replacement of those 3 by 3 that's come from that lecture by Dr. SRM. So all these things connect. And one of our teachers, Salman Nasir Siddiqui Sahab, he gave a very beautiful statement. He said that ilmun nafi', the beneficial knowledge, is that in which everything is connected to every other thing. If you think that there are pieces which are not fitting into the puzzle, then probably they do not belong to that puzzle. It means that that knowledge that we get, that is not beneficial. So if everything is fitting well and gelling well together, then it's a part of that big whole, which is called big cohesive whole, which is called ilm. The third one is the difference between absolute income and relative income. Suppose I earn $80,000 per year, and there is another person who earns $180,000 per year. And if that person is so busy in work, and I can share examples with you about what happens. I know of some people who work for 4 weeks continuously without any break, and then they take one week break. Why do they do that? Because they get paid a lot of money for that. 4 weeks working, 1 week off. A lot of time. That's a lot of time. And sometimes I ask them that what would you do with your money? Because you spend your life in that little donga that is given to you by your company. So what would you do with your money? That big house that you have built in another city, you wouldn't get a chance to live there. So these are the things that we have questioned. So on the other hand, the person who earns 80,000 lives with his family, and the person can enjoy the life. He can do whatever he wants to do. He can have an off when he wants to have an off. So these are the things that you have to keep in consideration. Sometimes the absolute income is not as good as the relative income. Look at the cost of what you are sacrificing for that thing. If you are earning a lot in a company and you are giving your day and night to that company, is that worth it? Do you use all that money? That money just remains in your bank. When you start to earn more, you start spending on the things that you really don't need. If a particular car can take you from point A to point B, you spend a lot on that big car just to achieve the same outcome, getting from point A to point B. What difference did it make you? You might say that you felt the comfort. For which part of the side, which side of the six things I mentioned to you it falls into? Does it fall into the side of the soul or the side of the body. I have seen many people who are extremely happy, and you would have seen those people too, just having a bike, like a simple bicycle, and they're very happy. And I have seen people in big cars with sadness spread all on their faces. Their face tells a story. So if you want to have that sort of a story, do you want to have that sort of a story in your life? This is something we should question ourselves. Self-employment and self-sustained businesses. So many people. So just we have to understand this bit, that our life has got a bigger purpose. In order to sustain ourselves and have food on our table, job is a part of it. But job is not the life, as we discussed at the very beginning on the very first slide of this presentation. Our job is not the life. Life is a big whole, and job is as a enabler to live. It's not. It shouldn't consume our entire life. It shouldn't become the purpose of our life. It's not. The career is not the purpose of our life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send us here so that we could have great careers. If you have a great career, it is a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but that is not the objective of coming here. The next the new norm that we have to know about is the career switching. I already gave you a few examples. It's a common thing that happens nowadays. If you're unhappy in a career, you've got all the means to switch it. You have all the means to switch it. Next one is online work is an option too. How much time you can save daily if you don't need to go to work. I know in some professions and some careers it's not possible, but in many it is becoming increasingly possible. So if you can give yourself that option, go for that. Next one is future readiness. Now that's another very important bit. Now many of these roles would be replaced by AI, the artificial intelligence, and some of that has already start to come through. Some of the scripts that people sometimes we see reading and so on, they are coming from AI as well. Sometimes the books, like Dr. Bashir mentioned about some of the books I have written. In some of our books, the illustrations, because some of those are children books as well. So some of those illustrations have come from AI as well. So a lot of jobs are being replaced by AI. So you should be future ready if you want to have a meaningful career, and you don't want to waste your things on the things that don't really matter. And it also comes down to doing things that are value adding. For whatever you have got tools and resources that can do the job for you, there is no need to do that job yourself. Save yourself time, because then that time you would be able to spend on those 5 relationships, the things that really matter, the most important things in your life. And with this, I conclude. This is all I had to share with you. I'll close this presentation now, and then if you've got any questions, you're more than welcome. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات. اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nabil Saab, for your precious time. Ladies and gentlemen, before the session of question and answer, as we draw near to conclusion and of this enlightening of the seminar work-life balance in the professional career, it is a time to for us for express our gratitude to our distinct player, inviting the chairman of Basic Science Department, Dr. Hadi Baksh, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir Nabil, we will take the question after this session.
Yeah, no,
Sir Hadi Baksh Saab, are you there? Dr. Hadi Baksh Saab, are you there? Might be there's some technical problem or network problem. So you can start your question, and or you can write your question in the chat box. Sir Nabil, can you take the question from the chat box?
Inshallah, I'll try to
Israrullah,
hold.
yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam.
Sir, thank you very much. Your lecture was very informative, very creative. But I want to ask one question. Nowadays, our children are so busy with mobile. We are very worried about them. How we are free them from to leave these habits and brought them to bring them for lesson for education. So kindly guide
So
me
we can
about
do a
it.
couple of
Thank you so
things.
much.
Yeah, inshallah. We can do a couple of things in that regard. One of the key things that we can do is to become the role models for our children ourselves. One our teacher, Salmana Siddiqui Saab, says that parents are a tree on which the children are attached as like a fruit. So everything that is circulating in you is circulating in them as well. So we should, first thing, we should become a role model for them. The second thing is that we should have meaningful conversations with our children. Sometimes what happens is that the conversations that we have with our children are transactional conversations that sit here, do that, go there, come here, eat lunch, change clothes. Very transactional relationships. We cannot discuss deeper things with our children. So the second thing that we need to do is to have deeper, meaningful conversations with our children. And scholars say, the researchers say that the children who cannot have deeper conversations for up to 20 minutes are likely to do many mistakes later on in their careers. So as parents, we should engage them in conversations rather than just transactional stuff. Like do this, do that, come here, sit, stand, change clothes. Why did you do that? Have meaningful conversations. And third thing is giving them alternatives. First thing, giving them mobile is in your hand. When we give them, then they take the mobile. And why does that happen? Sometimes happens because parents are too tired or too busy with other things. And then they see giving mobile as an easy alternative. That maybe they would get busy and I won't have to answer their queries and so on. But what we don't realize is that those little brains are getting trained to dopamine overdose. So that's a chemical that is released in our brain. And the amount of that chemical which is released in the brain because of the mobile phones is the same amount that is released in case of some of the addictive substances. So this is what we are doing to our children. And what it does is that once that mobile is taken away, the brain says that I want it again, I want it again. Because the dopamine is released, it wants to have it back again. So they weep, they cry because they want to get the mobile again. And then they get it, and then the dopamine is released. So that's the problem. So we shouldn't give them the mobiles. And gradually we should take away that habit by engaging them in other things. By maybe when they want something, give them an alternative. Go out with them on a walk, and so on. The fourth thing that you can do is to make the deen interesting for them. The very unfortunate thing that we have in our society at the moment is that we have made religion as something very boring. So make it interesting, present it in an interesting way. Maybe there nowadays some good animated series, the cartoon series are there. Show them to the children. And also there are some really good Islamic movies that are produced by some of our brothers and sisters. We can use them as well, as long as they do not have anything that is against the Quran and Sunnah. So present Islam in an interesting manner. Their Kahoot quizzes and so on that really get the interest of the children. Have them discuss things with each other. Have them come to you for questions and so on. And that would help you overcome some of the problems that they're going through. I hope I was able to answer the question.
Dr. Abdul Amin Arai, he is a very famous scholar of Islamic studies. He want to ask a question. Mohammad Nabil Saab, you know him very well.
Yes, he's my
Sir,
very good
please,
friend.
Dr. Abdul Amin
Alhamdulillah.
Saab.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Bashir Ahmed Dar Saab. Good to see you, Mr. Nabil, again. I welcome you, and thank you very much for this precious lecture. I have the question that in Surah Mezan, Surah Rahman, Allah Ta'ala says, Wawaza al-Mizan. Allah created Mizan. This is the same meaning, or this ayat is samely used, can be used as the balance in life. Allah Ta'ala designed the Mizan, means that we have to balance in life. What do you say about this?
It's a very valid point. So in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us that everything is according to a balance. And Islam is between the two extremes. If we tilt towards one of the extreme, it's moving away from the balanced path of Islam. So you have raised a very valid point that in Islam, everything is in balance. And if we look at that, we see the examples of that everywhere. Let's look at it from the perspective of worship first. Some of the companions said to the Prophet ﷺ, or one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they said that I'll not sleep the whole night. I'll worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the whole night. The other one said that I'll be fasting on every day, and so on. So the Prophet ﷺ advised them not to do so because Islam is not the religion of extremism. So the Prophet ﷺ told them about the right of people. The Prophet ﷺ reminded them about those relationships. Relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one thing, but if we are compromising the relationship with family and so on, then we are not having a meaningful life. So the Prophet ﷺ advised them that your wife has got a right upon you, your body has got a right upon you. So Islam is the religion of the middle path. That's with regards to the personal. Now let's look at the system level. The same thing is applicable. Humanity is trying to make their own system. They came up with the idea of from feudalism, it grew into capitalism. And capitalism was you can produce everything that you want to do, irrespective of whether it harms the people or not. If it's filling your pocket with money, you do that. So this is what we see in capitalism. Opposing that came the communism, in which it was said that everyone is now to be governed by the government. They would dictate what is required to be produced and so on. The absolutely other extreme. On one extreme, you are free to do whatever you want. And that's one of the values of the Western society as well. The freedom, which sometimes we become a victim of as well. In Islam, there is freedom in certain limits, which I'll explain shortly if time permits. But on the other hand, we have got communism in which there is no freedom. Started as an economic movement and then became a means of subjugation for, and we know what's happening with Muslims in China, in the Zhejiang province over there. So among these two extremes, Islam gives us the middle path. So from the system perspective as well, as you mentioned, Islam gives us the middle path. At the individual level, it gives us the middle path. And if we go into the excesses, then it means that we are deviating away from the straight path. And that freedom that I mentioned that Islam gives, it's explained by one of the narrations in which it's mentioned that Muslim is like a horse, which is tied with a rope. As long as that rope permits, one can move. But where that rope ends, that's the boundaries of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we shouldn't cross them. So that's the concept of freedom. You are free within certain range, within certain limits, but beyond the hudud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's no freedom. So Jazakallah for highlighting this point. That's certainly a very relevant and valid one.
Thank you, Nabil. Sahab. If anyone is shy to ask in English, he can ask in Urdu.
Sir Nabil.
Yes, please.
Sir Bashir
Arbab
Saab, I am
Manzoor.
here, sir, with you. Arbab Manzoor Ali is here. Am I audible to you?
Mhm. Yes, we can hear you, Bashir.
I have just advice and a suggestion. If we Muslims start to follow the provided schedule of 5-time periods in a day, we can easily maintain work balance in our life, and we easily can manage these all relationship with creator and creation. So just 2 months ago, I started to strictly follow the timetable of Salah, and I lost 13 kg weight and I am spend very happy moment of life with my children. I have good enough time for research, for classes, for office, and for my family. So it is my suggestion. We should strictly follow Salah time. We can easily maintain these all crises we are facing in our life. Thanks for listening. How can we get freedom from screen addiction? I'm so worried about screen addiction and screen time.
So
How can I be
yeah,
able to?
Jazakallah. So certainly there is certainly you have highlighted a very important point. Prayer is one of the most important and fundamental pillars of Islam. And if that gets fixed, a lot of other things get fixed, which is a for highlighting that. With regards to screen addiction, I've already explained some aspects related to that while answering question number one. Some of those things we can do in that regard. Second, and so apart from those things, another thing that we can do is called dopamine fasting. So you can stay away from devices for a day or two or so, and then you will develop the muscle to stay away from that. Your brain would get programmed. Allah has made our brain very much programmable. So you can program it to do whatever you want. So you can give it a brain and it would attune itself to that. And scholars say that if you do something for 40 days, it becomes a habit, it becomes a practice. So maybe go somewhere for 40 days, or maybe uh, 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 eliminate that from your life for 40 days, and the things would improve significantly. I hope this helps.
Zishan
Sir,
Ali. Yes,
Dr. Bashir
please.
Saab, I'm here, sir.
Yes, please.
Bashir Saab?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sir. So my question was that, sir, is it not? I'm sorry. I let me ask it in a different way. Okay, sir. Don't we think that the imposement of Islam, or if we impose the Islam in our lives, would that is it not possible that all the solutions we get? And I have to comment something about the AI.
Yeah, you're very true. If we implement Islam truly in our life, we will find solution to every problem that we have. Yeah, and what's your
Sir,
question
so
about AI? Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, it is not question. It is what I, sir, recently listened from Naval Ravikant. He said in the podcast, sir, he was saying that AI has come to replace all the non-creative things and non-creative peoples which are working in the industries. So and what I want to say is that the creative man and the creative work is not going to end by the coming of AI. Thank you, sir.
Jazakallah khair. So you're right in that it wouldn't get replaced completely, but a significant portion of the creative work could possibly be replaced as well. And I'm doing some of it recently, where some of the artworks and drawings and some of the other things we have been generating from the AI. So wouldn't replace partially. And I was explaining the same thing to my children, because the AI works in a way that it picks up things from what work has already been done. So it compares that, and based on that, it decides what it has to do. So we will need the artists and the creative people to come up with something that has never been done before, something totally novel and creative. AI cannot do that, and for that we would need people. But the things that are of repetitive nature, probably some of it would get replaced. But in order to acquire accuracy in that, it would take a long time.
Doctrine for life. He want to ask the question. Please.
One question.
Yes, please.
Change come into your life. You are attached with Islam and talking style. It is very spiritual. Try a lot. and you recommend Dr. Islam, we have done him, uh, how we can attach so much with Islam.
Jazakallah khairan. So one of the things that we can do is, and it's our human nature, that what we remain connected with, we establish a relationship with that. So one of the things we can do is to remain in the company of scholars, and everything starts with something small. So maybe if we can start taking small steps, then gradually we would get there. It's with like we work with a lot of youth and a lot of brothers and sisters over here, in order to bring them closer to Islam. And the thing what we do is that we do not start with the whole thing at once. We go gradually, step by step, so that the difference, the delta, as most of you are engineers, the delta, the rate of change is small. So the small hurdles that they have to overcome, and that it becomes easy. If we tell them that this is the big distance that you have to go to, many people lose motivation in that. So what we can do is give ourselves small delta. Maybe if we are not offering the prayer every day, start with that. If we are not pondering over the Quran every day, maybe starts with a few verses every day. Start small, and then gradually we can increase that. So that's one thing that comes to my mind. That is gradualism, and secondly, in inspiration. So we have to sit in the company of those people from whom we acquire inspiration. And you just mentioned about Dr. Asrar Rahman Rahmatullah Alayh. He also used to say another very beautiful thing. He said that the person who has got a fire in his heart, if you sit in the company of that person, it's impossible that you wouldn't feel the heat of that fire. So if we sit in the feet of the scholars, if we benefit from their company, we will also catch that fire. And this is something that we all very much need, sitting with the scholars and and getting the same flame, same heat that they have got in their hearts. Jazakallah khair.
Any other question, please?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sir, Dr. Bashir Ahmad Saab,
Okay.
I'm
Okay, sir.
waiting for this, sir.
If anybody have question, he can send his audio message to me, and I will ask Muhammad Nabil Musharraf, inshallah. For the vote of thanks, I would like to invite Dr. Hadibak Saab for the vote of thanks.
Can you hear me? My question. Can you hear me? Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, Brother Nasir.
Thank you. My question is about that. Can you elaborate some important points? How to improve creative mind in our daily work, like study and other work? Can you elaborate? Thank you.
Yeah.
I am in Taiwan.
So, Jazakallah khair. So one of the things that we can do in that regard is learn from other creative people. So we can observe what they do, maybe study about what's their creative process, how do they come up with their ideas. And also another very important thing about the creative thing is thinking, sitting at your own and thinking through about things. And if you think about things, the solutions would come to your mind. Sometimes they do not immediately come, but they would eventually come. Those of you who have done programming and so on, you would have noticed that sometimes you're thinking very hard about how to code certain thing and it doesn't work. And then you are sleeping and suddenly it comes to your mind. Or when you are eating or something somewhere else, it immediately comes to your mind that this is how it would work. So your brain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has designed it to be a very intelligent piece of machine. So it keeps on thinking about the thing that is not solved till the time you solve it. So the same we can do with the creative things. You can think about the thing that you want to be creative in, and your brain would get it. That's one point. Second thing is we can see the methodology or the process that the creative people do, and then we will be able to benefit from that as well. And the third thing is that in creativity, you can copy things as well. You can copy things without obviously exploiting the copyrights of people, but you can copy the ideas and so on, and then come up with something similar. And that is a learning process in itself. So when I started my journey of graphic design and so on, I firstly used to look at the posters and so on designed by other people, so that I could get an idea of what are the sort of ideas they are deploying or employing in their in their graphic works. So then we can learn from that. So looking at the work that others have produced, trying to study their methodology, and engage your brain in thinking about the creative thing is something that can, inshallah, increase the creativity. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nabil Saab. So I would like to invite Dr. Adibak Saab for the conclusions remarks.
Sir, Dr. Bashir Ahmad, Jazakallah, sir. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salamu ala Khatamul Anbiya wal Mursaleen, wa salamu ala man ittaba al-huda ila yawmiddin, wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen, amma ba'd. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن خير الأمور أوسطها أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. حضرات، سب سے پہلے ہم اللہ کا شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں کہ اللہ تعالیٰ نے ہمیں یہ ایک موقع دیا کہ ہم بہترین لیکچر سے استفادہ کیا. ہم نے اس کا ٹاپک حقیقت میں بہترین ٹاپک ہے ورک لائف بیلنس پروفیشنل کیریئرز. یقیناً محترم نبیل مشرف صاحب نے ہمیں قیمتی ٹائم دیا، اور یہ آپ کو علم ہونا چاہیے کہ یہ رات کا تقریباً 3 کے قریب ٹائم ہے جیسے ڈاکٹر بشیر صاحب نے بتایا تھا. اور اس طرح مصروفیت ہمارے محترم اور ٹرینر اور جو اس کے رہنما تھے محترم مسٹر نبیل مشرف صاحب نے قیمتی ہمیں وقت دیا، ان کا سب سے پہلے ہم شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں. اس کے بعد سیکنڈ نمبر پہ جو شخصیت ہے محترم ڈاکٹر بشیر احمد صاحب، جو ماشاءاللہ اس پروگرام کو ارینج اور آرگنائز کرنے والے اور اس کو یعنی اس درجے میں لانے اور یعنی اس کے باقاعدہ یعنی منظم انداز میں چلانے پر ہم اس کا بھی شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں. مزید یہ کہ ہمارے مہران یونیورسٹی آف انجینئرنگ اینڈ ٹیکنالوجی اس کا کیمپس خیرپور میرس کے جو وی سی ہیں جناب ڈاکٹر محترم درمحمد پٹھان صاحب، ان کا بھی ہم تہ دل سے شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں جنہوں نے ہمیں وقت دیا اور جوائن کیا. اس کے ساتھ ڈاکٹر موسوی محترم ڈاکٹر حیدر عباس موسوی صاحب جو ڈائریکٹر اکیڈمکس ہیں، اور اس کے ساتھ ڈائریکٹر ایڈمن محترم ڈاکٹر رفیق احمد میمن صاحب، سب شکریہ ادا کرتے ہیں. اور اس کے ساتھ آپ سب لوگوں کا شکریہ.
Hello. Are you listening to Dr. Adibak Saab?
یہ بتا
Okay.
جی سر. تو ڈاکٹر صاحب نے جیسے بتایا کہ مختصر میں اس کو کنکلوڈ کرتا ہوں. بینگ اے مسلم حضرات، ہمیں قرآن اور اس کے بعد ہمارے نبی مہربان صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے اس کے بارے میں کیا رہنمائی فرمائی، اور پھر موجودہ دور میں ہم دیکھتے ہیں کہ ہمارے لیے کیا رہنمائی ہے اس معاشرے میں جب ہم اس چیز کو دیکھتے ہیں کہ ہمارے پاس ورک لائف بیلنس ان پروفیشنل کیریئرز میں کیا چیز ہے جو ہمیں
I think Dr. Adibak Saab is now offline due to network problem. He's not here. Okay, I want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude to our keynote speaker.
are now
Okay, sir. You
are
can
you
back.
hearing, sir? Dr. Bashir sir?
Yes, please, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. سر پہلے بات جو میں نے بتائی کہ قرآن میں اللہ نے فرمایا کہ جس شخص نے خواہش نفس کی پیروی کی اس کا معاملہ یعنی ان بیلنس ہو جائے گا، بیلنس میں نہیں رہے گا. اللہ نے فرمایا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ، جس نے پیروی کی خواہش نفس کی، وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرْطًا، اس کا معاملہ ان بیلنس ہو جائے گا، افراط و تفریط میں ہو جائے گا. سب سے پہلے ہم اللہ اور اس کے حبیب صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی تعلیمات پر عمل کریں تاکہ ہمارا معاملہ بیلنس رہے. کے بعد ہم دیکھتے ہیں کہ نبی مہربان صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم نے فرمایا ان خیر الامور اوسطها، یعنی جتنے تمہارے معاملات ہیں اس میں درمیانہ پن جو ہے نا وہ زندگی کا ایک بہترین حسن. ہم دیکھتے ہیں مسلمانوں سے پہلے یہودی ہم ہوئے، اللہ نے ان کو ہلاک کیا اور ان پر لعنت بھی ہوئی. وجہ یہی اعتدال نہیں ہے. اللہ نے فرمایا الذین منکم سبت، یعنی ایک دن انہوں نے والے دن عبادت نہیں کی. اچھا ان کے بعد پھر عیسائی آئے، انہوں نے کہا کہ یہ یہودی تو بیوقوف تھے، انہوں نے ایک دن بھی عبادت نہیں کی. آپ کیا کرو، آپ دن رات عبادت کرو. تو اللہ نے فرمایا ان کے لیے مختصراً وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا، یعنی رہبانیت اللہ نے فرمایا انہوں نے خود ایجاد کی. اب ان دونوں کے درمیان میں اللہ نے مسلمانوں کو رکھا. اللہ نے فرمایا قرآن میں وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا، اللہ نے فرمایا بھائی یہ یہودی جو نا ایکسٹریم پر چلے گئے، یہ صرف مادہ پرستی اور مٹیریلزم سوچ، اس کے اپوزٹ میں جو نا دوسری انتہا پر اللہ نے فرمایا کہ عیسائی آ گئے اور انہوں نے کیا کیا وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا، انہوں نے رہبانیت ابتدا کی، رہبانیت کی ابتدا کی. اس کا مطلب یہ تھا کہ ترک دنیا کے معاملات کو چھوڑ دو اور دن رات اللہ کی عبادت کرو. حضرات اسی لیے تو اسلام بعد میں آیا اور اللہ نے ہمیں جو نا درمیان میں جگہ دی. اللہ نے فرمایا وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا، یعنی اسی اعتدال پر ہمارے لیے ایک کامیابی ہے. اور نبی مہربان صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کو اللہ نے دعا سکھلائی فی الدنیا حسنہ، اے اللہ ہمیں دنیا کی کامیابی عطا کریں، وفی الآخرت حسنہ، اور آخرت کی کامیابی عطا کریں. تو اسی لیے دنیا اور آخرت دونوں کو مسلمان لے کے چلے گا، کیونکہ یہی اللہ نے دعا سکھلائی ہے، دونوں کو ہم لے کے چلیں. تو یہ محترم نبیل مشرف صاحب کے ایک کنکلوژن ہے کہ بھئی ہم بیلنس والی زندگی پہ رہیں. اور یہ انسانوں نے جب دھکے کھائے تو انہوں نے تجربہ دیا. تجربہ کیا دیا کہ ایکسز ان ایوری تھنگ از اے بیٹ، کہ جو بھی معاملات ہیں اس میں تم زیادتی کرو گے تو نقصان حاصل کرو گے. تو اللہ نے بھئی یہی بات 1400 سال پہلے بتائی. انسان کو دھکے ملتے ہیں تو وہ ہمیں تجربہ دیتا ہے، لیکن اللہ نے کب بتایا 1400 سال پہلے. اللہ نے 1400 سال پہلے بتایا کہ بھئی تمہاری زندگی جو ہے اعتدال پر ہے. اور ہمارے نبی محترم صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی حدیث واضح ہے ان خیر الامور اوسطها، تمہارے تمام معاملات زندگی، تمام شعبہ زندگی میں تم اعتدال کو اپناؤ. تو حضرات یہی ہمارا ایک اس کا لباب ہے جو ہمارا ایک لیکچر کا ٹاپک تھا، ورک لائف بیلنس ان پروفیشنل کیریئرز. یعنی جو بھی یعنی ہمارا بیلنس ہے معاملات میں، کاروبار میں، تمام پروفیشنل ایک کیریئر ہیں اس میں ہم اعتدال پر رہیں. وما علینا الا البلاغ المبین. جزاکم اللہ
Thank
خیر
you,
الجزاء.
Dr. Hadi Baksh Saab. He is the chairman of the Department of Basic Sciences and Literary Studies, Mehran University, Sayyid Khali Bhutto, Khairpur, News. Once again, I am thankful to the keynote speaker, Mohammad Nabil Musharraf. Each and every one of you, your active participation throughout the question and engaging discussion have made this seminar a success. Thank you again. Thank you for your time. Your certification will be shared via email, and recording of this seminar will be shared, inshallah, in the group. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much, sir.
You all may leave. Thank you.